A pro-life banking service is having their grand opening celebration next month. This after one co-founder was kicked out of their bank for standing up for what they believe in, and the other co-founder had a life-altering conversation with God. Their story coming up next.
Welcome to The Right to Inspire. Journalist and host Sarah Strackhouse has worked at Fox News, the CW, CBS, NBC, and Time Warner cable stations across the country for more than 10 years, and is now focused on telling inspiring stories of those dedicated to making change. She's driving the message home that ultimately you have the right, the freedom, and the power to be the change you want to see in the world. You have the right to inspire.
Thank you so much for joining us for The Right to Inspire, because you have the right, the freedom, and the power to be the change you want to see in the world. I'm so excited for today's guest. We have Betsy Gray, who is one of the co-founders of ProLifeFintech. Betsy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here.
Oh, well, I'm so excited to tell your story. It was so life-altering and changing just hearing about it and hearing about your story and how you and Nick, who's the other co-founder, how you guys got involved in this. So first, I want to ask, if people are not familiar with ProLifeFintech, what is that?
Well, ProLifeFintech is it's 100% banking service. So we do all that you would normally need to have a checking account and a savings account and money markets. And we are starting slow. We're then going to have mortgages and insurance and business loans and whatever. But right now we're just personal accounts. Our business accounts will be in the summer. So, and the reason it's ProLifeFintech is because we're digital only. Okay. So financial technology is what FinTech stands for.
And so just kind of like a normal bank, a normal banking service. But what I love about it is the little word in there that says, pro-life. So tell me a little bit about why this bank was something that you and Nick decided you needed to start.
Well, it's an incredible journey, and I can start at the very beginning, where in my life, the Lord brought me a mentor who reminded me that God would bless me if I was doing His work, but if I asked God what He wanted, it would be way too big. And so I did that, and that really changed my life. I was working for a women's OB clinic in Santa Barbara, and once I asked Him, and He started directing my path, it led to these once a year fundraisers, and He would tell me, I would pray, and He would tell me what speakers to bring in. One year He asked for, I was praying, and I said, who do you want to represent the unborn? And he said, Nick Vuijicic. I knew it was God speaking to me. I used to be a shepherdess. I had sheep. And I learned from them that really you can take the Bible literally, right?
Yep.
So I said, okay. And I reached out to his website, and they got back to me and said, thank you so much. He's not making public speaking arrangements anymore. He's too busy.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute, wait, what? And I called my prayer partner, and he goes, oh, he just wants you to have faith. He's going to build your faith. He wants you to pray. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm type A. So I pray, and this is in the March of the year. By August, we have our people, and then we market to the next spring at the fundraiser. So I'm praying March, April, May, June, nothing. And I'm thinking, wow, it's getting close. So July, we run into somebody that knows Nick, and I think, it's in. And it didn't work. So then we run into Nick again at a restaurant. My board member gets his agent's name. I'm thinking, we're in. Mm-hmm. Long story short, they basically told me no about 6 times.
Wow.
They said, no, he can't come. He's busy that day. No, he can't come. But thank you. Have a great event. No, he can't come.
Yep.
But what they didn't know is that God wanted him to come. So I knew he'd come. And my board was like, Betsy. And I said, just pray with me. They were such champions. And December was their last no. It was the end of December. And they said, he can't come. And I said, okay, I'm still praying. January 6th, I got the email that said, Happy New Year. We've got great news and Nick can come. Well, because of that faith journey, Nick was like, who is this person? So when we met, the first thing he said, I walked into the green room and I'd never met. I said, Nick, it's so good to meet you. And he said, we're working together.
Oh, I love that.
And that was, I mean, he didn't even meet me.
And that was how, yeah. And when was this? So what year was that?
So that was 2015.
Okay. And then I know that kind of another catalyst of, you know, what kind of made this happen was in, I want to say, what, 2000... when was Nick actually kicked out of his bank?
Well,
I want you to tell that story too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now Nick and I become really good friends, and my medical clinic is just really blossoming, and the Lord blessed it. Now it's 2018, and I realized that the bank we were using was giving philanthropically to the largest abortion industry in our nation. So I told my board treasurer, we have to move banks, because if we're doing business with somebody that's shedding innocent blood, then we're kind of complicit, right? So I said, we just have to move banks. And he told me in 3 weeks that not a single bank in Santa Barbara didn't give to this abortion provider. Every single bank gave philanthropically to support abortion. And so I'm repenting and I'm crying out, Lord, what do? We have to bank. And that's when I heard clearly in my heart, he say, start my bank, start Pro-Life Bank. And that's when I said yes. And so Nick, being my friend, I called him up and I said, hey, the Lord wants to start a pro-life bank.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to be in on some of the calls. And so that's how we got into it. And about 9 months later, he said, you know, Betsy, you need somebody to drive this. You really do. And I said, yeah, I think it's you. And he laughed. And then I said, no, as I pray, I really think God wants you to be my co-founder. And Nick laughed heartily. And he said, don't call, text, or email for 3 months. Let God tell me.
Oh, how interesting.
And so I said, okay. So in that 3 months, he got canceled by a major bank.
Wow.
And when you get...
For what reason did they say?
They didn't tell him. They said, we don't need to tell you. We've looked into who you are. We want nothing to do with you. You have 30 days to get your money.
Wow.
And
if that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
So that's what he said. He said that God spoke to his heart and said, now are you ready to start my bank with Betsy? So he called me up and he said, I'm in. And so that's how he became my co-founder.
So that's a great story. And honestly, I love how you guys got together, because it was both of you running into situations where you had to trust in God, you had to trust in each other. And I love that. And that's why, you know, I know this is going to be such a huge success for everyone. So I want to hear a little bit about, I know we talked about this earlier, you know, if there was ever any pushback, or, you know, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you were facing, and really where you had to, you know, lean on each other and God?
Well, it's interesting, as we advanced and met with people, and we had to take Banking 101 really fast, because neither of us, he does have, Nick has 2 degrees in finance, but I don't. And anyway, as we started meeting bankers and we started meeting banking attorneys and companies that help people start banks, they all were telling us that there's no way that the FDIC would ever approve a bank called Pro-Life Bank. They just wouldn't do it. And so it's so beautiful to trust in the Lord. And you know, in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, the verse that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, acknowledge him in all his ways, and he will direct your path. And so we could see him directing our path. And so we were trying to purchase a bank in order to get a charter, and the doors kept closing and closing and closing, and not until hindsight did we see that the path he wanted was when it was so beautiful. I met a man in Jerusalem who then came back and a year later contacted me and introduced me to our board member, and he was the president and CEO of our sponsor bank. And this gentleman, Sean Copeland, who we love, not only loved the vision of a pro-life banking opportunity, but he said, I want to be your sponsor. You can be a fintech. And the FDIC then doesn't have to approve of the name. And so that's how we went from Pro-Life Bank to Pro-Life Fintech, because without your own charter, you can't use the name bank. And we will have a charter eventually, but right now it's Pro-Life Fintech.
Well, I love that. I mean, you're getting it done no matter the hurdles that are in your way. Have you ever been scared or worried or afraid of, you opened it last year under a completely different administration, a different mindset. Were you ever worried about people, any pushback or people being, not agreeable? Have you ever been worried about any of that?
Well, it's interesting, again, in knowing that God directs the path, because we really were concerned with the past administration, like what was it going to look like? But the way the timing went is we actually didn't open until November 30th, which
of 2024.
Of 2024. So we knew the new administration was coming in, so the timing was perfect. It was God's timing. And what's so amazing is, if we could have opened it in 2018, nobody knew at that time, Sarah, that all the major banks support the largest abortion provider, literally in the world. They all do. And so that was going to be a heavy budget for marketing to educate people that maybe their bank, if they don't want to be complicit in that, they should find that out. But then as the time advanced, Roe v. Wade was overturned. And these major banks advertised it themselves. And so on our website, then, we got thousands of emails saying, I didn't know my bank did that, and I can't wait. When are you opening?
Well, and you had thousands of people just on the waiting list. How many did you have?
So Nick got interviewed at the National Religious Broadcasting Conference in Dallas in 2021. It was June of 2021. And by August, we were in the thousands. We ended up with 46,000 people signed up on our website interested in banking with Pro-Life Fintech. And we heard from people from 39 different countries. 39 different countries. And they're begging us to come. And so we are going global. That's our next step.
Wow, that's amazing. And you're right. I mean, all of these things I feel like couldn't have happened at a better time. I mean, you have a huge event coming up in March that I want to get to in a second. But just you think about President Trump's first week in office. Already the conversation around, anti-abortion protesters, 23 people have been, who were convicted of illegally blockading a reproductive health clinic in DC, they've all been pardoned just in his first week. So the conversation, whatever side you're on, is prevalent in this country. So I think that, like you said, God's timeline, that it couldn't have been better timing. And I want to talk a little bit about the event that you have coming up in March, how exciting it is.
Oh my gosh. So we wanted to have a grand opening. And so that's what we're having, a grand opening celebration. We don't have any brick and mortar. It's in all 50 states and all 100 territories. But our grand opening is going to be in Dallas at the Dallas Renaissance Legacy West. And we are going to celebrate the Lord giving us this vision And we have just a robust lineup of speakers. We're so
Yes.
excited that really want to speak into culture and the need for an alternative banking system with these weaponized banks that we have now. And we're having Charlie Kirk is coming, General Michael Flynn is speaking, economist Kevin Freeman, and of course Nick Vuijicic. So it's going to be amazing.
In general, I think it's going to be an amazing event.
It really is, and we're going to start it, Sarah, with worship, because the Bible says that God inhabits the praise of his people. So that's how we're going to invite him, because he's the star that night. So we're really excited about that event.
That's so exciting. And where can people get tickets if they want to, if they still want to come? I know that you have limited seats, but if people want to get tickets, they want to learn more, where can they go?
It's a really easy website. It's called PLF, which stands for ProLifeFintech, plfgrandopening.com.
Perfect.
That's it.
I love that. I love that. Well, I have another question for you. This is a large undertaking, and I know that God spoke to you and Nick, and that you're taking it on. You're excited to take it on, but it would be easier to just maybe be retired. I know you've had a very successful career, to be retired and hang out and travel and do whatever. Why is it so important for you to be doing this right now?
Because, really as children of God, we really, depending on, he's dad and he kind of runs the show, and he is who asked me this. So I was 64 years old, and all of a sudden the Lord asked me to change careers. Wow. Like a brand new career. And I said yes, and it's been such I have met so many incredible people. It has been so much fun. And so I'm glad you asked me that, because I really want to encourage all the children of God to let him out of the box and to ask him what he wants. And you might be starting a bank.
Yeah, I love that. You might be getting involved. I mean, if people want to volunteer, they want to help, are there ways to do that as well?
Well, at this point, I know as we grow, we really are going to need to hire more people.
Yep.
The beautiful thing is we got over 100 resumes already.
Wow. From
people that really want to work for a institution that shares their values.
I love that.
And that's another thing. That's the new phenomenon. Is before banks were banks. You just banked.
Well, you didn't really care where they,
it was like, what's the interest rate? Right?
Yeah.
But there's been a shift, and the Lord must have seen it coming. And now people are looking for banks and stores and everything that share their values.
Yes, I was going to say companies that align with their morals, with their bases. So I love that.
You want to give your money and help people make money. And so that's what we want to do. We want to invest wisely. We want to gain honestly, but we want to give generously. Nick likes to call us a forgiving bank, for-giving.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we hope to give to really advance his kingdom to nonprofits that need it, from not only just to help the unborn, but widows and veterans and orphans and foster kids, and you name it. If God's in it, we'll be able to support it.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, Betsy, is there anything else you want to tell the audience, or you want to tell people?
Well, we just hope to see lots of you on March 8th to come on out. And we really hope that you'll go to ProLifeFintech.com and let us serve you. Open an account.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Betsy, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes,
it's been an honor.
Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. Don't forget, you have the right to inspire. You have the right, the freedom and power to be the change you want to see in the world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll make sure to have all of the information in the captions, and we'll see you next time.